Welcome to Real and Gaming World. Today, we're diving into the darker side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These villains may be iconic in the comics, but their movie counterparts left us underwhelmed. Get ready for the top 10 famous but worst Marvel supervillains. Remember, it's not about their power or comic legacy, it's about how they were portrayed on screen. Let's jump in. At number 10, we have Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel. This Kree fanatic was meant to be a terrifying enforcer of the Kree Empire, wielding the mighty Cosmi Rod. However, his motivations were one-dimensional, boiling down to destroy Xandar at any cost. Despite possessing an Infinity Stone, he failed to feel like a true threat to the Guardians. His brief interaction with Thanos showed promise, but was limited to a single scene. Fans expected a menacing warlord, but he came across as a character reduced to shouting about justice and destruction. Ultimately, he was defeated by a dance-off, which highlighted how the movie didn't take him seriously. Comic fans know Ronan as a morally complex anti-hero, but that nuance was lost. He represents wasted potential in the MCU. At number 9 is Dormammu from Doctor Strange. As the ruler of the Dark Dimension, Dormammu had the potential to be one of the scariest and most powerful villains in the MCU. In the comics, he's an existential threat to reality itself. However, his screen time was limited to a brief encounter where he was outsmarted by Doctor Strange using the Time Stone. Instead of showcasing his terrifying abilities or his domination over dimensions, he was reduced to a giant floating head stuck in a time loop. While the resolution was clever, it robbed Dormammu of the chance to demonstrate his full might. Fans wanted an epic battle against a godlike entity, but were left with only hints of his potential. Though visually stunning, the character lacked depth and presence. Dormammu deserved more than being a one-time trick pony villain. At number 8 is Lizard from Spider-Man No Way Home. Dr. Curt Connors is a tragic and complex figure in the comics, a scientist transformed into a reptilian monster. But in the movie, he feels like a minor nuisance rather than a genuine threat. Most of his screen time is spent growling, smashing, and lingering without much dialogue or character development. His motivations are barely explored, leaving him as a generic CGI monster. While his design echoed earlier versions, it lacked the menacing edge that made him iconic in the comics. Fans of the Amazing Spider-Man series may have hoped for redemption in this multiverse crossover, but instead, Lizard remained a forgettable side character. He added little to the emotional stakes of the story, which is disappointing given his rich history. At number 7 is Kang the Conqueror from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Kang is one of the most dangerous villains in Marvel Comics, a time-traveling conqueror who dominates timelines and universes. But in the movie, he fails to live up to his reputation. While Jonathan Majors delivered a compelling performance, Kang's actions and plans lacked the grandeur expected of such a major villain. His defeat in a relatively small-scale battle felt unearned and anticlimactic. For a character hyped as the next Thanos-level threat, his portrayal in this movie was underwhelming. Fans wanted a mastermind manipulating time and wreaking havoc, but instead, we got a villain trapped in one location and outsmarted by the Ant family. There's still hope for Kang's future, but this version left much to be desired. At number 6 is Modok, the mechanized organism designed only for killing, from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Modok is one of Marvel's most bizarre and fascinating villains in the comics, but his MCU version fell flat. The character was reimagined as Darren Cross from the first Ant-Man, which upset many fans. While there was potential for Modok to bring a mix of menace and humor, his portrayal leaned heavily into awkward comedy. His design was off-putting to some, and his character arc lacked the depth to make him memorable. Instead of being a terrifying weapon of destruction, Modok became the butt of jokes. Even his redemption arc felt forced and unearned. A character with such a unique look and backstory deserved more than being reduced to comic relief. At number 5, we have Dar-Benn from the Marvels. In the comics, Dar-Benn is a male Kree general, but the movie reimagined the character as a vengeful Kree leader. Unfortunately, this change didn't add much depth or excitement. Dar-Benn's motivations were generic, a grudge against Captain Marvel, and a desire for revenge. She lacked a distinct personality or memorable moments that could make her stand out as a villain. Her role in the movie felt more like a plot device than a fully realized antagonist. Fans were left wondering why such a minor character was chosen as the main villain for a major MCU movie. Coming in at number 4 is Crow from Eternals. Crow is the leader of the Deviants in the comics, a cunning and powerful foe. In the movie, however, his character was reduced to little more than a mindless creature. While he did gain sentience later, his motivations and actions were rushed and poorly explained. Crow's potential to be a compelling antagonist, especially given his ties to Thena, was squandered. Instead, he felt like an afterthought in a movie already packed with characters and subplots. Aisha, the Golden High Priestess of the Sovereign, takes our number 3 spot. Introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2, her regal presence and perfectionist attitude immediately stood out. However, her motivations were disappointingly shallow, driven by an obsessive grudge against the Guardians for stealing precious Analax batteries. While visually stunning with her golden appearance and commanding demeanor, Aisha lacked complexity or emotional depth. Her main contribution was setting up the creation of Adam Warlock, which overshadowed her role as a villain. Her limited screen time and lack of a personal connection to the protagonists made her feel more like a subplot than a true antagonist. In the end, Aisha's potential as a memorable MCU villain was lost to her one-dimensional portrayal. Fans were left wanting more substance from such an iconic-looking character. Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, takes the number 2 spot on our list. Portrayed by Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man Far From Home, Mysterio was introduced as a mysterious hero from another dimension. However, this facade quickly crumbled, revealing him as a disgruntled ex-Stark Industries employee seeking revenge. While his use of illusion technology was visually spectacular, his motivations felt underwhelming and overly personal, diminishing his larger-than-life comic legacy. Mysterio is a master manipulator in the comics, capable of breaking Spider-Man's spirit with his mind games. However, in the film, he relied too heavily on his drones and lacked the psychological edge that made him iconic. His death also felt abrupt, removing any chance for him to develop into a recurring antagonist. Mysterio had the potential to be a chilling and manipulative foe, but ended up as another Stark-related grudge villain. And finally, at number 1 is the Supreme Intelligence from Captain Marvel. In the comics, this AI overlord is a central figure in the Kree Empire, known for its immense power and strategic mind. But in the movie, it was reduced to a vague hologram with no real presence. The lack of a physical form or impactful scenes made it feel like a non-threat. For a character with such importance in the comics, this was a massive letdown. And there you have it, our list of the top 10 famous but worst Marvel supervillains. These villains aren't bad because they're weak. They just didn't live up to their potential on the big screen. Which villain disappointed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Real and Gaming World for more epic content.